Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I'm going to try different, be a businessman for a little while. And if I like it and enjoy it, we'll stay with that and just be done with coaching.
Some good things out there. We worked on some certain scenarios, situations. We slowed practice down a lot so we can go through those little scenarios. But for the most part, I like what we got out of it today.
That's all I'm trying to do is just give myself a chance on Sunday.
That's all any of us want is just a chance on the back nine on Sunday. You could take that from golf and into life, could you not, Pro? Isn't that just a good way to look at things? Just give me a chance in life on the back nine on Sunday.
How about the 18?
No, we don't care. The back where you want to be in any golf tournament is right there, the back nine on Sunday, especially at the U.S. Open in Oakmont. That was Dustin Johnson, who we all remember last year at Chambers Bay in Washington, that ugly golf course. Thank goodness we've gone back to the beauty of Oakmont this year. But it's, of course, maybe the toughest of all the stops on the rotation. Last there in 2007, those evil church pew bunkers that they have, though it's not the longest of the Opens, it doesn't play to a huge length, and there are no water hazards or anything like that on the course. But tough putting surfaces, heavy rough, and the scores are expected to be very, very high over the weekend.
Well, that's the interesting thing about, I think, just in my mind, the conundrum of golf is this. People who really are into the sport will say, hey, let's have the U.S. Open. Let's make this the toughest course it can be. And for the golf purists, great. But if you want to draw more fringe fans to the tent, and a lot of fringe fans will watch the U.S. Open, do you want to see your best stumbling around? And that's what they see. I mean, it's a conundrum you have to think about when you have your top tournaments. How tough do you actually want it to be?
As tough as possible. I mean, I love major championships over par. I love to see these guys. In other words,
you want to see the great golfers look like you do.
Absolutely. We all want to relate to that. I want to see them out there scrambling and pulling every shot out of the bag that's necessary. Oh, yeah. I think we're going to see that this week.
Yes.
Bill McDonald, the USC golf coach, is there. He's going to join us 7:10. Bottom of this hour, Ray Tanner, USC athletics director, but also a member of the college baseball selection committee. We're going to talk with him about the committee's work now that they're down to 8. How did he feel things played out in the tournament, and how does he feel about the field for the World Series, and how does he see the World Series playing out? We'll talk with him. Dabo Sweetie from camp today.
Wow.
Inspiring the youth. We'll let you hear from him. Ron Rivera from the Panthers camp, feeling pretty happy today. We'll let you hear from him. We got a busy one for you tonight here on Sports Talk. Don't leave us. We'll be right back. If you want to jump on the program, do so now. 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. If you're listening to us and you have not signed up to be part of our Sports Talk Twitter family, take time out to do it at Sports Talk SC, ever growing Sports Talk Twitter family. And make sure, of course, you put on your favorites list the website, sportstalksc.com. Terrific show coming up for you tonight. Well, we'll let you be the judge of that, but I think it'll be terrific. Ray Tanner at the bottom of the hour. Comments from Dabo Sweeney, Ron Rivera, Bill McDonald. Second hour, SC Wild, the bottom of hour number 2. So we've got a lot of stuff and some really interesting recruiting information to pass along to you as well.
You know, it's interesting, your interview last night with Gary Gilmore, and you asked him, had he been to Omaha before? And he said he had, you know. But remember, correct me if I'm wrong, and Ray could correct us when he's on, but didn't Ray Tanner never visited Omaha? Said the only time he wants to see it is when I coach
with his team. He said he would not go to Omaha unless he went with his team, and he stuck to that.
Exactly.
His first visit to Rosenblatt Stadium was his first trip with the Gamecocks to Omaha, and they stopped by. If I remember correctly, they got there, they were riding by Rosenblatt, and they stopped so they could walk in and look at it, of course, and that was like a field of dreams for all those guys. So it'll be the same way to some degree for Gary Gilmore. It's entirely different when you're going there with a team and you're one of the 8.
Well, Ray has the record that never will be broken.
That's right.
He closed Rosenblatt Stadium, and he opened TD Ameritrade with a championship.
Exactly right. They'll never take that away from him or the Gamecocks. By the way, our poll question on sportstalksc.com, how will Coastal do in the World Series? Checking the voting, 36% now say the Shots will win at least 2 games, and 32% say they'll go 1-2. About 14% say 0-2 in barbecue. About 12% say they'll win the national championship. Another 7%, I'm rounding these off, say they'll reach the championship series. Of course, they open up Sunday night against the Florida Gators. Looking forward to having Ray Tanner with us to talk more about it at the bottom of the hour. Let me pass along a few other things. And if you want to join us, 800-956-7266 is the number. Some baseball stuff to pass along. First of all, we have the All-American team as put together by the Baseball Writers Association, the Collegiate Baseball Writers Association, and several players from the state of South Carolina on the team, National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association. And you have on the first team from Clemson, Chris Oakey and Seth Beer, and from Coastal, Connor Owings and G.K. Young. Very nice. Then on the second team, you've got Braden Webb from USC and Pat Krall from Clemson. On the third team, from Coastal, Zach Remillard and Clark Schmidt from USC, and again from Coastal, Mike Morrison. So congratulations to all those guys for making the All-American team. Meantime, Big Spur reporting, Hunter Taylor, USC catcher, transferring for his final years of eligibility. He started 7 games, played in 8 others as a sophomore this past season, hitting .226, 2 doubles, and 9 RBIs. But he'll be remembered for the big hit down the third base line against Duke that sort of saved the Gamecocks' carcass there against the Blue Devils in that elimination game. And he made the all-regional team. And I believe he did he play in the Supers? I see Jones. I think he might have started the first game of the Super, but I think Jones might have caught the second game. I'd have to go back and look. But anyway, he has decided to leave. Of course, they have Chris Cullen, and they have John Jones, and they have a freshman coming in, Brad Debo. So it's not like they don't have good catchers back there, but Hunter Taylor is departing. Somerville baseball coach Banks Faulkner announced today he's stepping down as the coach at Somerville after leading them to a 4A state championship in May. David Shelton, with the story in the Charleston Post and Courier, writes that it appears Faulkner is headed to Blythewood to be the new head coach at Blythewood High School. He declined comment on his further coaching endeavors. 2 seasons at Somerville, a record of 52-11. Pretty strong there. And let's see. What else? U.S. Open pairings for tomorrow. Here's what we have as far as the locals are concerned and their tee times. DJ Trahan has an early start time tomorrow, 6:56 in the morning. I never like playing golf that early. I'm strictly an afternoon golfer. Just can't get the juices flowing that early in the morning, Can't get loose, can't get the club head speed where it needs to be. Don't like playing in the morning. Rory McIlroy, 8:24. He's not a local, but of course one that we follow. Jordan Spieth, defending champion. We'll hear a few comments from him. 8:35 in the morning for him. Ryan Stackler, amateur from USC, teeing off at 8:57 tomorrow morning. A little bit later on in the day, Bill McGirt from Wofford, 1:25. Columbia's Dustin Johnson, the heartbreak loser last year. Many think he's going to break through at some point, get that major. 1:36. Bill Haas of Greer, 1:36. They're not playing together. Johnson's going off number 1 and Haas is going off number 10. Kevin Kisner from Aiken goes off at 1:58. Phil Mickelson at 2:09. Clemson's Lucas Glover goes off at 2:20. And looking forward to the Open and just how brutal things could be out there for the golfers beginning tomorrow. It is sold out the Pearson Club level of Johnson Haygood Stadium. This will be at capacity for the second consecutive season after selling out for the first time in history of the West Tower last year. A limited number of season tickets are still available. So Bulldog fans getting pumped up, jacked up, fired up for their season, which opens with 2 straight SoCon games at Mercer against Bobby Lamb on September 1st, and then the home opener September 10th against Furman. So they've got a Thursday night game September 1. Then they come home to play Furman on September 10th. And, of course, the football season rapidly approaching now as we hit the middle of June and get ready for media days coming up, SEC media days, less than a month away in Hoover, Alabama. In fact, it'll be exactly a month from tomorrow that Will Muschamp will be there to represent USC. He's coming in on the last day. And then a couple of weeks after that, we have ACC Media Day. We've got the Dabo Sweeney golf outing up in the mountains coming up. We've got the Coaches for Charity gathering in July in Greenville this year. Not going to be in Columbia. It's going to be in Greenville at the Hyatt. So we got a bunch of stuff coming our way, and it'll be here in a hurry. And I think we all are ready for it to be here now. We're ready to get back into football, something that never really leaves our minds. And, it's can last year or can this year match last year in terms of excitement and disappointments. We had both ends of the spectrum. You had the excitement of Clemson, their undefeated run, the national champion, which was a load of fun. It was great to cover, great to talk about, and watching it unfold before our very eyes, it was mesmerizing what they did. And then you had, of course, the great seasons by Charleston Southern and Coastal Carolina and the Citadel. And then you had the disappointment of South Carolina and the end of the coaching career of Steve Spurrier, the way that came to an end suddenly and without much, real fanfare that a coach of his stature, in the perfect world, he should have gone out with a lot of bells and whistles and fanfare, but it wasn't meant to be.
And of course, we had the flood. And everybody's sitting on pins and needles at that Notre Dame game, thinking they might have had to camp in at Death Valley overnight.
We did have the flood. Let's hope that we can avoid the flood once again this football season, except for a flood of tears in some areas. Back in a moment. Okay, back with you. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266, the number if you want to jump on board. Ray Tanner, USC Athletics Director and member of the baseball tournament selection committee, will join us here at the bottom of the hour. Not so much about Gamecock stuff. Want to talk to him about CWS, the tournament, Coastal Carolina. Maybe we'll talk a little Gamecock baseball with him as well. I mean, you can't have Ray Tanner on your show and not talk about what USC did and also what one of his former assistants did, Monty Lee, at Clemson. So we'll have him on for that here coming up in a little bit. Bill McDonald from Oakmont. He's been out walking the course with his player and watching the best in the world attack it. We'll get his thoughts on that coming up in just a little bit. Today at Clemson, of course, they've got camps going on. And one thing that Dabo Swinney likes to do, of course, is get the campers all gathered around him so he can deliver a message to them that he hopes they will take to heart. Clemson football put out a little video of Dabo addressing the campers today and delivering the said message.
There is no shine without the grind. And champions are made when the stands are empty. Make sure you understand that. Because all of you here, most of you on teams, understand that's when you get better. When nobody's looking. You win. Teams are made when the stands are empty. All right? When they're full, that's just hard work paying off. All right? I love that. Got a bunch of guys here that you don't have to be here. You could be sitting around playing video games, doing something, out getting in trouble, whatever. And you guys all in here working on your craft. And it's about each one of you guys getting better. It's about each one of you being the best that you can be.
All right, Dabo Swinney from his camp. I'm sure that's a message that is being repeated by these coaches all around the country as they host young kids, you know, those who are in the Pee-wee football age group on up through early years of high school to the guys who are your major prospects who are visiting the camp, making that message to them about the hard work that goes into, like he said, filling those stands and, you know, getting to the conference championship game and the national championship game. And now is when you put the work in to redeem those benefits later on down the line.
And of course, football is just like anything else. The guys who work on it, and you notice this field, especially a lot of players, they work on it enough and are in good shape that it almost seems that when they're running, like if you are running the football receiver, they run as if they have a set of eyes above the field because the change of direction. It's almost like they're like a point guard where they run and they can count the players in front of them, around them, and they make the moves. You don't do that if you don't think about the game. You got to think the game like it's a game of chess, and it is, and you just happen to be a human piece.
A pawn.
Yes.
Just happen to be a pawn. Okay, we'll be back. Ray Tanner is coming up next here on Sports Talk. We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, the professor, Tom Hayes, Carson Mason, all with you from our downtown Main Street, Columbia studios. Hope you've had a great day. Thank you for being with us here across the state on Sports Talk. It's been a busy week, and we have more stuff to do with one of our teams this weekend with the College World Series beginning in Omaha. Let's welcome into the program a member of the College Baseball Selection Committee, as well as the athletic director at USC, Ray Tanner. Coach, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Phil. How are you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Thank you so much
Good.
for being with us. Always enjoy having you on to talk about the Gamecocks and also, of course, baseball, college baseball. And what did you think of the tournament to this point? I guess we kind of conclude the tournament aspect of it, and now we go to the College World Series. How do you feel about the way things have played out to this point?
Well, it has been interesting to say the least, but, that's the beauty of baseball and how you play the game. And, in this case, with so many favorites not winning, but, that's you want to see great games. You want to see teams that host be pressed and have to play really well to win. And that's what happened. There were a lot of good teams. I think the parity continues to grow in college baseball, and anybody can beat anybody. I think the one thing that stands out to me when you look around the country and look at the different regionals and the super regionals, the visiting teams were so comfortable. That's the point that really stood out with me as I watched the games. I can remember years that teams would go into difficult venues and really not be able to handle the environment, although they had really good teams. And that seemed to be different this year with so many teams. And the impressive wins with Cal Santa Barbara going into Louisville and being able to win, and what Coach Gilmore's team from Coastal did down at LSU and others. So it was impressive, and I think it's good for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the SEC and its failure pretty much around the tournament, except for the one team, Florida, that advances? You being so close to that league, obviously you had to be shocked by what you were seeing.
I was surprised a bit just because of the strength of the league, and we had, 7 teams that were hosting regionals to begin with, and I would have expected, like a lot of years, most years, that 3 or 4 teams survive, and you get as many as 4 teams in Omaha, maybe 2 or 3. But as the case unfolded, it was just the Gators who were the last team to get in because they had the extra day to play down in Gainesville. But the streak was on the line. I think this is 24 years in a row that an SEC team has been in Omaha, and the last 8 years, there's a lot of pressure on the Gators to carry the flag.
Is there anything you learned from watching and following this year's tournament as a member of the committee that when you get back with the committee for next year and you guys start talking about it, anything in particular you want to discuss that needs to be changed or tweaked a little bit?
Well, I think that there's going to be some discussions. I don't know that I want to discuss them on the air right now, but there's some things that I noticed that I think we need to tweak, and we need to make some adjustments and maybe have some better oversight. But in general, I thought it was, really it's been a good tournament, and I look forward to what unfolds in Omaha.
Do you guys as a committee, do y'all communicate during the tournament? And if so, did you feel as a group that the tournament was as exciting, suspenseful as those of recent years, and that people were really, really caught up in it, and maybe the television ratings reflected that in some form or fashion?
Well, I haven't seen the ratings, but I do think that it was exciting. There were some great games, and as we talked about earlier, the so-called underdogs ended up doing very well and performed at a high level. So for that purpose, I think that it was really good. I think we do stay in touch. We had a committee call just a couple of days ago, and then we'll be in Omaha together too. So it'll be an opportunity to continue to have dialogue and promote college baseball at a high level. So I think it's good. That you look at the field out in Omaha, and there's some people that haven't been there on a regular basis, and I think that's a testament to the programs that they have and what's going on around the country.
One thing that I want to ask you that it may possibly be under consideration or maybe not, when you look at the Columbia Regional, The two games were set for the Super Regional. The two games were set for a 3:00 start time in Columbia in the middle of June. We all knew and know it's going to be extremely hot. I think it kept some people away. Your attendance was very good and your fans were very good, but you didn't have over 8,000 for either game. Maybe they were kept away because of the heat. In talking about these sort of placement of games and start times in the future, do you have to consider that in the Deep South, in the mid-afternoon in June, it could be very uncomfortable for the paying customer to sit out there and root for their team?
Well, you bring up a really good point, and it's not a perfect system, and television certainly is involved, and we're delighted that they are involved, and you can see games all across the country. I think this year was a little bit different just because there weren't any host teams on the West Coast, so it really put us in a position that we had to play a noon game, 3:00 game, and had we had some host sites on the West Coast, then it might have been a little bit of a different story. But you mentioned our fans in Columbia; they were great. I think we did almost 16,000 for the two games that we played, and it was a tremendous heated situation, and our staff did a great job, our operations people, and our fans noticed that we had gone the extra mile to make sure people were safe and accommodated. But it was still a very good environment, and in an ideal world, you would play probably a little bit later. But like I said, because there weren't any host sites in the West, it changed the landscape a little bit this year.
Well, from what you know about Western baseball, and I see where Mark Marcus is going to retire after one more year at Stanford, are you expecting some of the traditional baseball powers of the West to return to status going into next year?
Well, I think that's the case. And, there were some good teams out there. Some teams have advanced, and, they're still playing. They just weren't in a position when you look at host sites. It just wasn't – we didn't have the teams as prevalent as normal to consider. And at the end of the day, we didn't award any host sites out that way. So that was – like I said, I don't know if that's ever happened before, and I wouldn't expect it to continue. And it was just a case of the numbers that fell as they did, and they'll probably be different going forward.
Now, having been in South Carolina as long as you have been, the Coastal Carolina program, the way it has grown over the years, what's your take on what Gary Gilmore now has achieved after 21 years of putting in the hard work at Coastal and getting that first trip to Omaha? What are your thoughts for him and also just the development of that program over the decades?
Well, I'm personally happy for Gary Gilmore, and he and I corresponded via text the other day, and he's had a good program for many, many years, Phil, as you know, and he's not at a Power 5. He's not in a situation that maybe some other people are, but he has a really good program. He's had really good teams, and he's always known that his teams could win a regional and a super regional. It's never been easy, but he's never given up on that. And this year it worked out great for him. His team, went on the road and won, and they went down to LSU to win a super regional, and they earned it. They deserved it. They played their way in, and it's been very impressive. And I always thought that he was gonna get there. It's not an easy thing. Been through it many, many years, but he did, and I congratulate him. He's done a heck of a job, and and his players performed at a high level in a very difficult venue.
No doubt about it. Under intense pressure and without their starting second baseman on Sunday.
I know. It was, and I go back to even this watching the second game, the clincher for them, when LSU loaded the bases in the ninth, and while they were talking and they were taking timeouts to visit the pitcher, the Coastal guys were still very comfortable in that environment. Where in some cases LSU would throw up a 6 spot.
Yeah,
they were only able to tie the game, and then Coastal wins it in the bottom half. So a very impressive performance by Coach Gilmore's club.
All right, Coach, hang on. Got to hit a quick break. Want to come back to you a couple more minutes with Ray Tanner here on Sports Talk. Back we are, Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Couple of more minutes with Ray Tanner, and thank you very much for holding. Going back quickly to Coastal, first trip out there, first time for Gary Gilmore out there as a coach. You've been in that situation. What advice do you give Gary Gilmore about how to handle everything that comes with going to Omaha, especially that first time?
Well, I go back. I was fortunate enough to be a part of 6 trips to Omaha in my career, and I was told early on to make sure your players are relaxed, to have fun, enjoy the experience, and I heard the words, but I wasn't able to get to that point necessarily. I never felt early on that I did a good enough job with my teams keeping them comfortable, but that is the key. I'm not so sure that he'll have that issue. I watching his guys play at LSU, they seem very comfortable in the moment, and I think that's the most important thing he can do. That this is a celebration, and you certainly don't want to go out there and play 2 times and come home. But it's a celebration of having a tremendous year, getting to play on the grandest stage of them all in college baseball, and if you can be relaxed and comfortable, you're going to play your best baseball, and that would be my advice as a coach, to do your very best to get your players in that position.
Well, I know people feel Florida is the most talented team there, but after watching Oklahoma State take down Clemson and then your guys with relative ease, that's a good-looking club. What did you think of Oklahoma State? How do you think they'll fare?
Well, I thought they were very good. They're very polished, and they're solid, and they don't make mistakes. They play the game the right way, and they're able to handle and impress with their pitching staff and their pitching coach, Rob Walden, who I think is one of the best ones in the business. He and Jerry Myers are friends. They go back a long ways, and I think he's made a tremendous impact on the program there for Josh Holliday, who's the head coach. And they haven't been to Omaha in a while. I don't know if that will be a case that will, but they are playing outstanding baseball at the right time. You talk about a team again that had to go on the road and win and play extremely well, and they did that.
Yeah. People have to remember, it's so hard to get to Omaha. Here's Oklahoma State, tradition-laden, 19 World Series trips before this year. This makes number 20, but they haven't been since 1999. So it's not like they forgot how to play baseball all these years at Oklahoma State.
Right. And, there's so many good teams, and it makes me happy, the fact that I was able to be a part of college baseball for a long, long time, and it continues to grow, and the parity is good. People care about baseball from an administrative level and a presidential level, and stadiums are being built, and it's on television. It's a great thing, and I think the interest in the sport is tremendous at our level. And you see teams like UC Santa Barbara get there, and Coastal's able to play their way in that haven't been there, but we know they've been a good team, and others. So I think it's great for the game, and I haven't been to Omaha in this environment, Phil, so I'm looking forward to going out there and enjoying some good baseball.
Well, I'm not saying this to blow smoke at you or anything. I said this on Monday. I think the Gamecocks, if everything kind of holds together with the incoming class and they don't have too many unexpected departures, I really think next year's the year that they can get back to Omaha.
Well, I won't put any jinx on it, but I know Coach Holbrook has worked awfully hard to get good players and have a lot of depth. And last year didn't work out so good, but he was really good this year and could have been there too. So there's so many good teams, and when you play in the Southeastern Conference and you can get through the season and get to postseason, you've been battle tested, so it puts you in a position. So I'm excited about our team and what Coach Holbrook's done, and wish us all the best going forward.
When do you head to Omaha?
I'm gonna go out tomorrow. So I'm my work duty is the first part of the series, and so I get to be there for the opening games and get a chance to see a lot of baseball in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. And you will hit the Drover what night?
I will probably work it into my schedule. Who knows? Maybe I hit it if we have a rain delay that I work it in. But you can rest assured that that'll be on the itinerary.
I understand. Hey, thank you so much. Have a great trip out there. We appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ray Tanner, USC Athletics Director and a member of the Baseball committee. For the Drover, for those of you who don't know, but I'm sure you do, it's like the best steakhouse in Omaha. And everybody that goes to Omaha for the World Series, the one thing they've got to do is go to the Drover. Last time we were out there, I went to dinner with Corey Miller, and he ordered a 45-ounce T-bone. And he ate it in about 30 minutes. It took about a half hour. I had just a little 20-ounce then. Mine looked like a hamburger compared to his thing.
Well, I gave. Well, see that.
And it was good. It was worth every penny and every
for me because I've met.
You're a vegetarian.
No. I just don't eat red meat.
Oh, you're a vegan.
It was interesting.
When
I went to a person's house in Texas.
We got to hit a break. Hold that thought. Be right back. We thank Ray Tanner once again for joining us here on Sports Talk, and let's give you the recruiting report for tonight. Receiver Ortre Smith from Wando was at USC on Monday after going to Georgia on Sunday. His mom told us a great deal about the visit to USC. To sum it up, and the entire story's on the website, sportstalksc.com, but to sum it up, they had a great visit, and Will Muschamp really wants Ortre Smith, and he let them know that. The mom is really big on academics. That's going to be a crucial part of the decision, and the school that gets her son is going to have to convince her that, as she put it, they're going to take care of my son. He's going to get his education. She doesn't care, about the football side of it from the standpoint of immediate playing time or anything like that. To her, it's most important that he be taken care of and be taken care of academically. And again, she said that Will Muschamp and Kirby Smart both hit them up very hard with those messages. Now, moving forward, they're going to Clemson for the same kind of deal on Friday, and then to Chapel Hill in North Carolina on Saturday. Now, his mother's not going there. She's got an event with her younger son, but his godmother, who lives in North Carolina, is going to accompany him to Chapel Hill. Smith still tentatively set to announce on September 11th, which is his birthday. Stephen Davis Jr., the athlete from Dutch Fork, told us last night that he's committed to a school. He just wouldn't tell us where at this particular time. Of course, he was committed to Auburn at one point. USC was involved. Clemson offered at one point. North Carolina, Georgia, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Florida, Florida State, UCLA. These are all reported offers for him. Safety and a running back. Remember, he moved to running back, had a great think it was the second game of the season, 202 yards. He scored 7 touchdowns, but he tore his ACL and his MCL, missed the rest of the year. So recruiting has been on the back burner for him. But he said he has committed to a school and will enroll there for summer school between June 25th and July 1st. He's just not saying where he's going. Asked him if USC or Auburn is the school. He replied, could be somewhere around there. Now, J.C. Sherbert of the Big Spur reported on his website this afternoon that that USC is not taking Davis Jr. So he in his reporting, his information is eliminating South Carolina from the formula. So it could be Auburn or it could be somebody else. But we'll find out, I guess, later on this month. Defensive end Brad Johnson of Pendleton was at USC for camp today, and he'll be back at USC tomorrow. This, according to his coach, Paul Sutherland. USC, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Michigan State, Texas A&M, Wisconsin, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Mississippi State, Wake Forest are all offers. In July, he's going to Notre Dame, Michigan State, Virginia Tech, and Mississippi State. He'd also like to get out to A&M and Wisconsin. And all those are in the picture, as are Georgia Tech, Duke, and Wake Forest. USC has made Johnson a major in-state priority, according to his coach, and they've continued to keep up the recruiting effort that started months ago. And that's the reason why he came down today and will stay there tomorrow as well. A few more notes coming up after the break.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Want to wrap up the recruiting report for tonight just to get back to Brad Johnson from Coach Sutherland. USC, he said, is definitely recruiting him the hardest. Virginia Tech probably recruiting him second hardest. He's definitely going to go there after July 11th. He also said at the Shrine Bowl Combine last weekend, Johnson was sized up at 6'3.5", 230, and the coach says he's still growing, pointing out that he doesn't shave yet. So, you know, in young guys, once you start growing your whiskers, I mean, that's sort of the sign of maturing and getting bigger.
Yes.
You know, like I haven't actually myself had to face that situation very much, but apparently he can get much bigger. Offensive lineman TJ Moore of Charlotte released a top 8 last night. No order: USC, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, North Carolina, Louisville, NC State, Syracuse, and Maryland. Defensive end Zachary Carter of Tampa was at Clemson camp Tuesday, has the Tigers in his top 4. Receiver T. Higgins of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, was at Clemson's camp Tuesday as well. Also, defensive back C.J. Avery, Grenada, Mississippi, was there. And defensive back Jamias Williams of Loganville, Georgia, was at Clemson for a visit. Did not work out in the camp. Clemson today offered 2018 receiver Xavier Williams of Hollywood, Florida. And defensive back Tack Robinson of Lake Marion was at Clemson's camp today. The Tigers having a lot of highly recruited players in the 17-18 class in for their camp this week. And Dabo likes to do a 3-day deal. So a lot of the kids come and stay for the full 3 days. And conversely, at USC, it's a bunch of one-day camps. That is what Will Muschamp has been doing going back to last week. Every day, a different camp. They've got a big quarterback camp at USC coming up on Friday, as you heard Steve Tannehill talk to us about last night on the program. There you go with the recruiting report for tonight. We encourage you to follow along on Twitter with us, Sports Talk Wise, with the hashtag ST Recruiting on Twitter. And, of course, you can check out the full stories on our website, sportstalksc.com. Major League Baseball this afternoon. Had a good bit of it going on. Update you on that. The Braves, of course, losers last night to the Reds. They'll probably be losers tonight to the Reds as well at Turner Field, as I'm sure here in the not-too-distant future they'll be playing in front of friends and family only at Turner Field once the football season rolls around.
One swing did him in last night. 3-run homer. Take that away. What, it's 1-0.
Yeah, Tehran apparently pitched pretty well, but there was no offensive support, to say the least. Let's see on the scoreboard. Cubs and Nationals 3-3 in the 10th. Toronto and Philly scoreless in the first. San Francisco beat Milwaukee 10-1. San Diego over Miami 6-3. Dodgers beat Arizona 3-2. Rockies beat the Yankees 6-3. Bill McDonald coming up here after the break from Oakmont. We'll be right back. Going to get you ready for the U.S. Open, which begins tomorrow at Oakmont. And to do that, let's hear from the defending U.S. Open champion, Jordan Spieth, as he talks about, first of all, the way he won last year, watching Dustin Johnson miss that putt on the 72nd hole. He walks away with the win. He talks about that and also his confidence level and, of course, the conditions at Oakmont.
I told myself, listen, this is a 72-hole event. If Dustin 3-putts on the last hole, I 3-putted 16, that could have been number 8 and 12. It just is more significant because of where it happened. But everyone was 3-putting. People are going to 3-putt this week. It just happens at a U.S. Open. And it just happened to be on the last hole on a very, very difficult putt that he had, that first putt. The more you look at it as there's no pictures on the scorecard, you just count them up at the end of 72. Can dissect everything in between because it's kind of how we dissect it because we want to learn from the good and the bad. You guys dissect it because that's the news on the round and how the tournament played out. But ultimately, when I look back, I don't remember Dustin's putt. I remember us winning the U.S. Open. Yeah, I certainly felt bad for him. I would have ultimately liked him to have made the second putt, and then I would have liked to have beat him on Monday. But it's not, again, 72 holes add him up, and we ended up one stroke ahead. I feel that we've geared everything up to peak at a major, and because I feel that way, it makes me as confident as I can be. The Masters this year, tee to green, I felt much worse than I did at events where I finished 25th at a tour event. But because I just felt that we were ready and that we could do it, and I could draw on past experiences, especially at that event, we got into contention. I willed the putts in. I couldn't really describe it to you other than it just being kind of a mental state of being confident at the majors. I don't know how the course played in 2007, how different the rough was, the bunkers. But I think hitting the fairways are going to be I say fairways are first cut. The first cut's nice out here, and it will hold the ball up from going into that thick rough. Fairways are first cut, I think, is the most important statistic for me to focus on this week. But it's interesting looking back, it wasn't that important at the last U.S. Open, and I can't seem to fathom why. I mean, it's just out of the fairways I've missed in these practice rounds so far, I've maybe hit a green regulation once when I haven't been in the first cut. When I played it 6 weeks ago, there was very compact sand. And that meant that if the ball trickled into the sand, it wasn't a bad shot, just barely went in the sand, you could hit the green, no problem. You hit a good solid shot. They have dumped so much sand into these bunkers. And now it is so tough to get a clean strike on the ball. You can hit it very thin, or what ideally you do is you err on the fat side if you can get something like an 8-iron on the ball. And it's hit or miss if it's going to come out fat and 60 yards short, or you get it to the front of the green. So that's changed a lot from when I played it 6 weeks ago, but very, very different track from Chambers Bay.
All right, Jordan Spieth, as we welcome in USC golf coach Bill McDonald, who has been in Oakmont this week, following one of his players, rising sophomore Ryan Stackler, who qualified to get into the Open. First of all, Coach, good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. How are you guys?
We're doing fine. We're doing fine. Did you get a chance to follow Spieth very much during practice rounds?
Jordan or Ryan? You talking about Jordan Spieth?
Yeah, who we just were here. Yeah, I'll get to Ryan in a second, but I was wondering if you got a chance to follow very much.
Oh, no, I've been with Ryan. I'm Ryan's swing coach, more or less. I've been with him the whole time I've been up here. The crowds have been pretty big around Jordan and his groups. So I haven't had a chance to really do much more than just be with Ryan.
Yeah. Well, you're not up there for a pleasure trip. You're there working.
Well, I at least got to try to pretend that I am.
Yeah. Well, how's he handling everything?
I tell you, he has been he has really been a cool kid to watch this week. I mean, he didn't play a whole lot for us this year, and he started looking really good toward the end of the spring. And when he made it through the local qualifying in Atlanta, it just really seemed to give him a lot of confidence. And then he played well to get through, obviously, in Atlanta last week. But and he's handling this environment and everything tremendously. He's signing autographs. He's Had a chance yesterday to play with Jason Duffner, which was really good for him, and I think he's having a wonderful time.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about your team and guys who might qualify for the Open, he would not have been one that would have come to mind. How close did some of the more named players on your team come to making it?
Well, we had part of the problem with our big three, our three seniors that Sean Kelly and Matt Neesmith, Will Stark. Their graduation was right on top of when they had to do the first stage of it, the local, and it was a little bit of a a lot going on around then. So that was tough on them. But we every year we just encourage our guys to go. There's nothing more open than the U.S. Open, and we always encourage our guys to go try to qualify. And it's been really cool having Matt last year at Chambers Bay, and then Ryan this year at Oakmont.
Yeah. Of course, you were with us last year from Chambers Bay, and we talked about, at least on television, how ugly the place looked. I mean, just in terms of the colors and the greens. Remember, we talked about that. Totally different here, right? I mean, Oakmont is plush and beautiful and very scary.
It certainly is. I mean, there's a lot more grass this year. There aren't any trees out there anymore. They've taken all the trees out. So from a venue standpoint, it's similar to Chambers in that you can see the whole golf course from certain vantage points, like up on number 3 green, which is sort of like the highest point of the property. You can pretty much see every hole out there. But the rough, the green complexes are some of the most severe I've ever seen, and it's really tight. I mean, it's going to test every single part of your game. And I was just listening to, before I cut on, I was just listening to Jordan talk about the bunkers. The bunkers are really difficult as well.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when you play a golf course like this where the rough is so high, you don't mind being in a bunker, but this week it's not necessarily going to be an advantage to have hit it into a bunker.
They have those things called the church pew bunkers on a few of the holes, very famous. And boy, you get into those things, how tough are they to navigate your way out of?
Well, it's just and I've told Ryan, I said, it's just a situation where you pretty much have to take your medicine. I mean, you can, if you go around here and try to challenge this place, and the risk reward is just not there. You're going to make some bogeys. We were really fortunate yesterday. The director of instruction at Oakmont, Eric Johnson's a really good friend of mine, and he walked around all 18 holes with us, and he just kept saying, make a bogey, don't worry about it, get on down the road, try not to make a double or worse. And that's a little bit how the church pew bunkers are. I mean, if you just chip it out, get it back out in the fairway, and get on down the road, you're going to be okay. But if you try to hit some crazy shots and really challenge it, you're gonna have some problems out there this week. So,
does Ryan have the game, and does he have the mental fortitude to make people sit up and take notice of him beginning tomorrow?
That's a really it's going to be interesting to see how he handles this. He's been he's one of those kids that he just keeps getting better, and he doesn't really seem to be fazed by all of this. But let's face it, he's 19 years old, and this is the U.S. Open. So it's going to be interesting to watch tomorrow. I'll tell you this: physically, his game is spot on. He's right there with everything about his game. He's a really good around the greens, very good putter, great with wedges and things like that. So, if he can if he can handle it, I know he's going to be nervous, but if he can just handle getting off to a decent start and play to his strengths, which is just getting it somewhere out in front of him, and so he can make some putts, and I think he might do okay. I think he could possibly make the cut, which would be a tremendous accomplishment.
Well, he goes off at 8:57. If it's okay, maybe we'll catch you tomorrow night to talk about his round and the first day out there.
Oh yeah, sure, Phil. That's no problem at all. We
greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Coach. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bill McDonald live from the U.S. Open up in PA. We'll be back with some Panthers talk for you. Thanks again to Coach McDonald for being with us. Look forward to having him with us tomorrow night, maybe with some good news on Ryan Stackler's first round of the Open at Oakmont. Now, the Panthers in minicamp, they had day 2 of their minicamp today over in Charlotte. And Coach Ron Rivera seems to be in a pretty good mood about things after day 2.
Some good things out there. We worked on some certain scenarios, situations. We slowed practice down a lot so we can go through those little scenarios. But for the most part, I like what we got out of it today. Probably the biggest disappointment again, some of our young guys making too many mistakes. And, my message to them is better get in the book.
It looked like you had a lot of young defensive backs making plays on the ball.
Yes.
On campus.
Yes. Well, those are the guys that, we brought them here for a reason. And that's why they're out there working with the 1s and 2s. And it's an opportunity for them to show us what they can do and what they're capable of. And, again, there's a lot of things that go into what's going on the field.
How much do you chalk up the disappointment to youth, and how much do you chalk it up to they're just not doing what you need them to do?
Both. I think it's fair that they're young guys that are trying to learn and understand, and yet, we put a lot on them. But my message is if you're struggling, you better start getting in the book a little bit more and spend a little bit more time working on those things.
Ron, what'd you tell Joe Webb after that spike on 4th down?
Well, it was one of those things that Joe should know better, and again, you got to pay attention and understand the circumstances and situations. Joe thought it was a first down, and, it's one of those things that we can't think, we got to know.
Where have you seen the biggest growth from Devin?
Oh, I think just his overall presence. He walks on the field and he's got a lot of confidence. He's running good routes. He's making good catches. So that's probably the biggest thing is his confidence, because I think he knows what he needs to do and he's doing those things.
You huddled him up after the Joe Webb spike, right? Because of mistakes.
Again, what I've talked about was these are what we call EOGs, in the game situations, and we talked about each one of those situations. Today we slowed it down on purpose. So again, as was asked earlier, he made a mistake. We talked about why, and we got those corrected. Today, when we went into one of our periods was basically going through EOGs.
Ryan Khalil's been your offensive line leader for a long time, and he's being paid like that. How much has that changed him at all?
No, it hasn't changed him. Ryan Khalil's Ryan Khalil, and he's going to continue to do the job that he needs to do, and he needs to do for us. And he's been tremendous, and he really is a solid football player, and he's a great leader for us.
What would you like to see in tomorrow's practice before you guys get ready for that big break? That'll give you confidence going into training camp.
Oh, I don't think I need to see anything to give me confidence. I really do feel good about who we are as a football team. I think the biggest thing I want to see tomorrow is a little bit more consistency out of the young guys. I like the way the veterans have approached this offseason. I think they've taken advantage of the fact that, we started a little bit later. We cut a whole week out of the program. The veterans came in great shape. They've worked very hard. And we've had great participation, and I'm very pleased with that. But again, if there's anything that needs to happen, is I think the young guys need to step up their game tomorrow. And I'm not just talking about the rookies. I'm talking about the second, third-year guys that are getting opportunities out there. They need to take advantage of it. They really do. And, like I said, I was a little disappointed yesterday. Today it was a little bit better, but I was still disappointed. And so we'll see. I mean, it's going to be important for those guys to step up. As I said earlier, though, real pleased with what we got from our veteran players.
All right. Excuse me. Panthers coach Ron Rivera, after the workout today, he sounds like he's ready to tee it up, and he feels pretty good about his team here.
They've got to have improvement from Funchess. They get Benjamin back, the big receiver from Florida State who missed all the last year.
What about that corner spot?
But Norman ain't there.
Yeah.
That's why I said the receivers have to step up, because I think they have to score some more points.
Back in a moment, SC Wild.